in my motherfucking cell. So many personalities. Everyone is fighting for the bell. They fighting for the bell. What's good? God is good. I'm your host, Jay Did It. Welcome to Thursday Therapies, a podcast for all creatives, writers, rappers, poets, artists, activists, Sacramento Community Therapy Session. Today, I have Torch One Blazin, owner of Woodworks Media, Sacramento Hip Hop Artist, Freestyle Emcee, father, husband, business owner, all-around good guy for the city. Torch One stands for Together, One Race Could Have Overcome Numerous Enemies. Blazin is for his homie, Willie Blazin, who passed away, so he keeps his name alive. Member of Pride Entertainment, raised in Valley High Sacramento, his ultimate goal is to create an opportunity for young people to become great people. Welcome to Thursday Therapies. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's been a beautiful weekend, very eventful, and I just love coming back to this space that you guys have created. It's a beautiful space, and I just feel at home when I come here. So,
well, we're happy to have you back, and glad that you're comfortable. It's what we aim for, is to make people feel like they can be themselves and create their art. So
nice. So, how are you doing, and how is your weekend going?
You know, I'm actually surprisingly relaxed. Being at a Cinco de Mayo weekend, I expected it to be a lot more crazier around the city.
Yeah.
But it's been pretty tame this year. People kind of been kicking it here and there, but not too big, not too massive. So, not quite what I expected, but it's been good. I've been able to get some work done and get, some business things situated, as you know. So
beautiful. Yeah, no, it was kind of chill this weekend. I mean, there was some events going on. I hit up a couple events, but it was a chill vibe. It felt really good this year.
Right. Yeah, it was nice, to say the least. Yeah, you know, I had a show actually on Friday, and it surprised me because I assumed, with it being Cinco de Mayo weekend, that the turnout would be one way, and it was the opposite, and sometimes you get those shows, but it was just like, man, people aren't coming out. And even when I came to the office to see the lines outside the club weren't all the way around the corner, I was like, man, it's not what it used to be when we was going out.
Yeah, I think people are really spending more time with family, it seems like, instead of going
at
out.
Home events.
At home events, backyard barbecues and stuff like that. It's been really nice for that. No, that's dope. So, as you know, Thursday Therapies is a podcast discussion on mental health awareness. I just want to ask you some questions and get your outlook on mental health, and then we'll tap into what you got going on in the community.
Let's do it.
So, when did you become aware of mental health, and how old were you?
I became aware of mental health as a teenager. Being an athlete, you run into many different personalities that, if you come from a loving home, you're not accustomed to dealing with. Because that loving home just loves you regardless. You of course you make mistakes, obviously, but you can't do no wrong in their eyes. Then you get these adults, coaches, mentors, people whose careers depend on your performance at a young age, and they put pressure on you to be extremely intense about things that you may just do just because it was something to get out of class.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that pressure, it builds on you if you don't handle it in the right way. And I remember having to adjust a lot of my thinking because I always assumed every adult had the best intentions out for me until I realized most adults had the best intentions out for themselves, and I was just a tool they optimized to get the end result. So.
Wow. When did you find out that? Like, were you at that age? Did you know that's what they were doing, or now that you're older, you look back?
Oh, I found out in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, how did your family handle mental health in your home?
I was blessed to have a really strong father. One thing he did, regardless, good, bad, success, failure, is he talked to me.
Yeah.
He made sure I understood the results of my actions. That went a long way. Just like any other teenager, I went through my bouts of depression. I went through my bouts of not wanting to be alive, not wanting to be around. Oh my God, I did something wrong. I disappointed family. So again, like any other young male, we go through these things mentally that we don't share publicly, but they happen. And my dad, he always listened. He's willing to listen.
Nice.
and he's willing to sit down and talk, and that just it made a difference. He didn't brush it off, you know.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's dope that you had that extra support at home, because a lot of young men don't have that. And the stigma is just like, a lot of people hear that you just have to man up and, like toughen up and, put your shoes on, pull your bootstraps up and, handle it. And a lot of men have to go through that. And it's just great that you had that support at home.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of times that was the advice.
Yeah.
But it was situationally appropriate.
Yeah.
Because there were times where it was like, well, nah, there is no toughening this out. You need to be able to just hug somebody and let your emotions out. You've lost something dear to you or precious to you or important to your life, and you can't just hold that in all the time. That's going to ruin you,
Wow.
And one thing that inspired me about my dad was not so much about how he talked to me, but how open he was with my other friends and my other teammates and guys in the community that still to this day, all these years later say, man, how's your dad? Man,
Right.
your dad replaced my person I didn't have.
Wow.
And that's what I will always speak about is how a lot of guys were just able to get that same treatment I got if they were willing to stick around and listen to the conversation.
That's a beautiful blessing. That is a beautiful blessing because a lot of youth don't have that, in the community who are dealing with mental health, and they really just have to figure out and navigate on their own until they're adults. And then once they're adults, then, it becomes a bigger issue because then there's substance use, you're self-medicating because you really are undiagnosed and really don't know what to do. A lot of people don't have that extra support. So shout out to your dad.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
amazing.
Shout out Pops.
That's amazing. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Do you have any personal stories or anything that you had to deal with some mental health issues in your home?
I mean, oddly enough, even with all this life experience, I was dealing with mental health yesterday. I was having a creative overload because the responsibility of being a creative, ensuring that business is running right, ensuring that you're dealing with people in a professional way, but also caring about their feelings and emotions and who they are as human beings, but also needing to have a deadline met and having a job done, and trying to manage all these different emotions. It's challenging because I didn't come from that. I came from an era of get it done. We'll talk about it, but get it done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there is no my feelings hurt today. I'm not coming to work. No, we gonna go to work.
Right.
We can talk about why your feelings hurt while we get this job done.
Right.
And I'm learning to adjust and be more understanding that everybody wasn't raised like I was raised. Everybody didn't have that same background. So sometimes you gotta care.
Yeah.
But that caring is stressful because you take on the rest of the world's problems that ain't even your own.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was sitting back watching two friends kind of not necessarily argue, but communicate kind of sternly back and forth with each other to the point where I'm just like, how do we get here?
Right.
You know what I mean? This is not even what we're doing this for. To where I had to kind of pull myself back and be like, let me breathe, let me pull myself back and not interject because this has nothing to do with me. However, it's making me feel like, where's my time going?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's so many other things I have going on, and my energy and my thought and my efforts are going that mentally you feel drained.
Right.
And I know that's not the same as depression or not the same as, not feeling worth or, deeper, mental health issues, but it's a mental health issue that you face when you feel like you don't necessarily have an outlet or a person to go to or vent to or meet you at a level of understanding. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's it's almost like I'm trapped because if I go to you, I'm picking a side.
Right.
If I ask you to change, I'm choosing their side. If anything I do to intervene, I'm making someone else feel less than what they should be, when in actuality I care about you both equally and need you guys to figure it out.
Right.
So it's stressful.
No, that is a definite stressor for sure. Definite stressor. And, for you to be able to pull back and say, look, you have to check yourself and be like, is this really about me, or where can my time be? That's a good thing, a good insight of yourself, and, really trying to set boundaries with yourself, so that you can alleviate some of that stress, because it is stressful, And I like that you said that you were going through a creative, what did you say? What did you call it? A creative,
Jeez, what did I call it? I know I was basically going through a creative slump at the time. I just like my mind just was creatively. I was just confused. I was locked down. I wasn't able to flow and be myself, because every time I sat down to create, all I could think about is what's going on around me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not the kind of stuff that you put in the songs. Everything, despite what they say, ain't meant to be rapped about or sung about. Sometimes you gotta just eat it, and it's creatively, it's hard.
Yeah.
You can't. I like to make happy music. I like to bring the energy up. I like to have people feel good, and it's hard to make people feel good when I feel bad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
No, but it's good. It's good that you were able to, see where you sat in the whole conversation and were able to take yourself out of that. So, and continue to create and show up here for Thursday Therapies.
Oh yeah, no worries.
So, did you ever have to witness any mental health disparities in your community? You said you grew up in Valley High. I know Valley High is used to be a tough neighborhood. I'm not so sure how it is now, but did you have to notice or witness any disparities in the community?
I mean, yeah, in middle school we had kids that with special needs that went to school with us, and at that time they were definitely emphasizing treating them as equals and putting them in the same environment. And it's funny because my daughter, she's the same way, but growing up, you're like, all right, no one asks you to, but you're like, I gotta make sure don't nobody bully this kid. Let me make sure he cool. Let me make sure he all right. And we had one kid. Everybody treated him good. Shout out to my classmates, man. A lot of people have big kind hearts. This brother's name was Romaine, man. He was non-verbal autistic. You know what I mean? But nobody treated him like he was different than us. He couldn't do everything, but he got that respect to be able to be a student. And that's where I first learned about empathy.
Yeah.
From some of the quote unquote toughest kids that you're going to be raised around in some of the most, toughest neighborhoods you're going to grow up in. Their heart for people who didn't necessarily have what we had, and we ain't have a lot.
Right.
So we looking at them like, man, you can't even cuss nobody out for yourself. Nah, we cool. We got you. You straight.
Right.
Don't even worry about it. Y'all leave him, let him go. You know what I mean? And as much as people try to put a negative stigmatism on people who grow up in certain areas, I've seen a lot of love and a lot of hugs for autistic children and children with disabilities, wheelchairs, whatever it was. I've seen, I got my homeboy Rich, shout out Rich, my boy AD, everywhere I go, Rich with him,
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? And them some strong brothers right there, you feel me? And that's the kind of empathy and the love and the mental strength that I see in my community. So they don't treat anybody with these disabilities or these differences any less than. They make sure they're a part of everything we're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, since a kid to an adult, I see that mental strength and mental empathy that comes with understanding mental illness and physical disabilities. It's prevalent out here. People with big hearts run rampant in the South area.
Right. Yeah, and that's hard though, because when you're a youth, people are very harsh. Kids are very harsh, and when they see somebody that's different or looks different, they're very harsh. And so that's dope that you were able to be around such loving kids. Because it's not always like that. It's not always like that in the community.
Well, don't get me twisted. I ain't call them loving now. I just said they had good hearts when it came to these brothers and sisters. They roast us up. You know what I'm saying? Nah, believe me, you came to school and your fit wasn't right.
Tough.
You was getting roasted all the way. You talking about freestyle? You could rap. Oh my God, do a bad bar. You could have 52 straight hot fire bars. Let that 53rd bar be rap. They gonna be like, you should have stopped at 50.
Oh,
and
shit.
they gonna rag you from fourth period till you get out of school the rest of the day. So
Oh, wow.
they wasn't kind to everybody.
Oh,
we just
okay.
had love for the people who couldn't defend themselves.
Oh,
so,
okay. Good.
You know what I mean?
Good.
But trust me, it was still a jungle out there, boy. Them Jackman Middle School streets. You know?
Yeah. So, how do you feel like the world's changed? How do you feel like the world's understanding on mental health has changed since you became aware of what mental health really is?
I don't know if it's changed, but what I'll say I've noticed more is the effort people put into it.
Okay.
People are proud of their kids, whether they have autism or not.
Okay.
People are proud to give somebody opportunity, whether they have autism or not. People are not going to allow you to treat them like outcasts or outsiders because they may not be on the same mental state as you. People care. And you know, growing up, I didn't necessarily know that was going to be what it was. Because, again, like you said, you have those handful of people in your circle that are assholes.
Right.
Excuse my language. I don't know if you can cuss on here or
You
not.
can cuss.
But
Come as you are, just
you
like
know.
church.
Oh, yeah. You know, shout out church. You know what I mean? Hey, Team God. But, yeah, we don't. There's no holding back when it comes to that. It's all full force. And so I think that surprisingly the world will stop and say, hey, okay, enough when it comes to mental health, you know, because you can't choose that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You didn't pick to have your mind not work
Right.
the way to allow you to operate in the world. And also, a lot of smart people are a snap away from being manic.
Right.
So, I mean, there's reasons why the brain is only able to use so much of its what's the word I'm looking for? So much of its power, basically, for lack of a better term, because you can go crazy being so smart. So before you judge somebody, you know, just take time to listen. And I think a lot of people have taken that approach, and it's made the love tolerable.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of smart people deal with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia. You know, a lot of smart people, just because they have a mental illness doesn't mean that they're not smart, you know, book smart, street smart in what it is they do. You know, a lot of geniuses, you know, have mental health issues. A lot of artists, you know, a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers, you know, athletes. A lot of them deal with mental health issues, you know, depression and anxiety and mental health issues. Overall, they don't discriminate. You know, they don't discriminate over race. They don't discriminate over age. They don't they don't discriminate. Period. So a lot of people deal with mental health issues, you know, and just because you're dealing with the mental health issues doesn't mean that you can live a fulfilling life.
Right. I mean, what I say was impressive, I can say from elementary school to high school, the word retarded was gone. That's not a long period of time, you know, in the overall conviction of the human species.
Right.
But to have a word that people were using in like 3rd, 4th grade, oh, you're retarded. By the time you get to 9th grade, you know, 10th grade, that word is gone now. People are like, no, they have special needs. We need to ensure that we're helping them.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, it's amazing to see the growth that you can have happen in such a small period of time.
Right. Yeah, no, that's true. So, what can you do to bring more awareness to mental health in our community? What do you think you could do, or, you know, us as a collective, what do you think we can do?
As for myself personally, I want to allow my platform to be available to people to speak about mental health, to express themselves, to be able to come and talk and do things that may not be able to be monetized, but may be able to be expressive and fruitful in their emotions, where they can, you know, really get it out of their system.
Right.
I want to get to a point to where I'm doing decent enough in the rest of my life where I can afford to make that space.
Right.
Because there are certain situations I don't feel right telling the customer, you know, it's going to cost you this and this amount of dollars to do this. Sometimes I want to just be able to be in a space and be like, you know what, you just need 2 hours of a microphone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Come on.
No, that's a
but
blessing.
the lights got to stay on, the rent's got to stay paid. So
Yeah.
I still have to make sure I'm focused on the monetary aspect of the business. But for me, I would like to be able to open this space up to have community discussions, to have certain elders on to speak about the right way to groom our next generation, because believe it or not, we're preparing ourselves to be the next elders.
Right.
And so in order to do that, we got to learn from the ones that are still here while connecting with the young people that's listening and willing to follow.
That's important.
So it's very important.
That's so important, and a lot of people don't talk about that. How you're connecting the generations, and it's that's a big key factor in life.
It's got to be worth their time. Earlier you made a powerful statement. You said, thank you for letting me come here. It's helped me grow. A lot of this equipment you see here today, I had in my garage. But you coming to my garage is not going to feel like you're growing, because you're coming from, already working in the industry. Now you're coming to an office, you're coming to a building, you're in a location that's other professionals are here. You can go out in the hallway and meet other professionals. And so if I can give that to the youth,
it's a blessing,
and let them see this is what it can actually be, regardless of where you started at. Because like I said in the beginning, I started from Valley High.
Right.
And I'm not in jail.
Right.
I don't have a record. My daughter graduated college.
Nice.
She don't got no kids, and she's not married, but she's had the same boyfriend since college.
Nice.
She was been able to start her own business. Cowrie Shells Archives. Check out the website.
Shout out
my baby Kennedy. It can be done from these neighborhoods.
Yes.
It can be done from these areas, and don't let the world beat you up and tell you different. And it could be done with our crowns on our head.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And don't be ashamed of who you are.
Right.
And again, it started with me having my father instill that ability in me to not be scared to face the world.
Beautiful. And just being on this platform is a beautiful thing, and speaking your truth and your story is a beautiful thing, and hopes that it'll reach more people out there and help them. You started from the bottom. I started from the bottom. I came from nothing, and here I am trying to create this platform with somebody like you and your wife, and trying to give back to the community. It's a beautiful blessing.
Yeah, and your platform is amazing. Like I said, when I first started working with you, I went and I did my research and I checked out some other shows, and I was like, okay, I'm impressed with your caliber of commitment to your guests, allowing them to speak their truth and heal.
Thank you.
And, regardless of how the package looks on the outside, sometimes some of us, we just need to talk.
Yeah.
You called me and asked, when we scheduled this, and said, hey.
Yeah.
Do you want to share your story? And I was like, of course.
And you showed up. Thank you. Thank you. Blessings.
Because again, at the same time, we got to show up for each other.
Yes. And that's what it's about. Community. We talked about that in the last episode. Community. We're not here to do this all by ourselves. We're here to do this together, Community. We got to bring each other up. That's what life's about.
Right. Yeah. Community is important. Family is important. Culture is important.
100%.
Culture setting.
Yes.
One of our complaints is that we don't have our own language, but we can create our own culture.
Right.
And so the culture can be whatever we create. And if we create a culture of, I'm available, I'm there for you, then that's what the culture is going to be.
And it's blessing. Nothing but trust, love, loyalty. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, yeah. No problem.
So what would be the advantage of seeking outside support, therapy, or, therapy, counseling, any type of outside support for yourself?
You can't do it alone. It's the reason why there's big brothers. There's a reason why there's uncles. Mm-hmm. It's the reason why there's fathers. It's the reason why there's elders. Nobody's ever walked the path that you've walked, but as a collective, many people have had many experiences. Mm-hmm. So you need that group. You need that counsel to learn from. You need those people to teach you and show you how to handle a situation that your group or your foundation may not have handled because you're walking a different path than they walked.
Right.
So seeking that counsel, seeking that therapy, seeking those conversations can allow you to grow. In certain neighborhoods, it's the big homies. In other neighborhoods, it's the football coaches.
Right.
In some neighborhoods, it's the hoop coach. Right. Some neighborhoods, it's, Yeah, I mean, it's the local dad who's dad to 4 or 5 different houses, but
Right.
it's always somebody there that's willing to listen.
Right, and that's key. Those are key components in raising, and bringing your mind in the community is the coaches and is the pastors, like you said, the uncles. Make sure that they're the safe ones. And there's a lot of people out there, and that's what it's for. It's the community. And seeking when you're younger, if you need to in high school, you need to go to a coach or a dance teacher or somebody outside of your home is very important. That's very important. But do you believe in seeking therapy from a therapist?
Yeah. I mean, for a person like myself, I always need somebody to talk to that I can leave the conversation on the floor where it's at.
Right.
Because there's things I want to say that I can't just go express to any and everybody. They're not committed to get it. They're committed to listen so they can have a conversational piece to tease me about later, which is cool. I can take my jokes, but
Right.
I also need somebody there committed to listen, and that usually comes from therapy. I like that my job offers like an EAP program that you can go and have sessions with a counselor if you need be.
Right.
I like that. Again, I'm still blessed enough to be able to reach out to my father. I like that I can take counsel, from different friends who have become more ordained in ministry, and
Nice.
I like that I can grab a microphone and just express myself, whether it be in a podcast or a rap. But I give myself many therapeutic outlets, so I'm never against any form of therapy when it comes to my mind.
Nice. No, okay, that goes into my next question. Who else can offer you helpful support in managing your mental health? And you just nailed it right there.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many different ways, and people think, okay, Thursday therapies, okay, she's going to talk about going to therapy. No, therapy, seeking counsel outside of somebody other than yourself is, somebody safe, somebody who you trust other than yourself is very important. And it doesn't have to be a therapist. It could be, somebody you trust. That's very important. Your mom, your dad, a pastor, a coach, like we just talked about. So that's very important.
That microphone.
That microphone.
Hey, don't just because the microphone can't talk back don't mean it ain't therapeutic.
Right.
Because don't nothing listen better than a microphone and a Pro Tool session. You can let it all out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And get it out, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It don't got to be your next single.
Right.
And you might make a 20-minute song, but so what? Get it all out.
Let it out.
Let somebody hear you get that off your chest, and then come back, refresh, reset, and reattack.
Yeah. So what are some coping skills you use to get you through hard times, stressful times?
I like to stay busy. I like to create. I like to build. I got a lot of tools. I like to fix stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When I was younger, I used to like to break stuff. So fixing the things I used to break kind of made me learn that I like to fix stuff better than I like breaking it. So
my daughter does that. She breaks a lot of stuff, but then I'm like, I wonder, and then she tries to fix it. I'm just like, do you break it on purpose just to try to fix it so you could figure it out? Because why do you keep breaking this thing? Just to challenge yourself?
I remember unscrewing Walkman and taking them apart and looking at the chips, just wanting to know where they go and what makes this run and how come I can press this button and get this signal from here to there to make it play the tape.
Curious.
And, just that mind of why something works. Why does a circuit board look this way? Why, you know what I mean? And, that wasn't the field that I chose to go into, but those were the things that had my curiosity at a young age. Books.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about books.
Yeah.
Like letting your imagination run wild with the words. Right. So when people I'm about to tell on myself. It's all good though. The Chronicles of Narnia. The way I imagined that movie in my head when I read that book. The way I imagined it when I seen that movie come out. And they had the wardrobe. And they had Aslan as big as a house, and I was just like, yes, because that's the way I imagined him, because he was like God as a lion to me in the book, you know what I'm saying? And the closet was like a magical portal that was going to transfer you out of a horrible situation into a fantasy world where, yeah, you was going into war, but at least you wasn't in the war you was leaving from.
Wow.
Because people forget them kids was coming from the Holocaust times. You know what I'm saying, when this story was written.
Wow.
And they was finding imaginary freedom in the freaking coat closet.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I fell in love with that story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to see it reimagined in life, it was just like awesome. It was like, it made me glad that as a kid, I had that imagination to picture it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I implore people, man, don't give up on books. Like, read. I don't care if you read on the internet. You know,
read something, a magazine.
Yeah,
read an article. Yeah.
Let your mind create what you're reading, and then when you get to see it, you'll either be utterly pleased, or you'll either be extremely pleased or utterly disappointed. But either way, you'll have a real reaction,
right,
and a real emotion to it. So
yeah, no, that's a great coping skill. So what do you do for self-care? Coping skills, self-care.
Like I said, I stay busy.
Busy is staying busy is a great thing, but at the same time, you need time for rest, relaxation, self-care.
Yeah, but see, the results of staying busy are monetary. And so then that gets me the things that I enjoy, you know. Then
okay,
I
so
get
what do
to
you
go
enjoy to do for self-care? Steak and eggs.
No, just
Just
steak.
steak.
Carnivore here.
Okay.
Steak, you know, big burgers.
Okay.
Yeah, you know I mean, like real American. I'll go walk it off later and jog it off. But no, I like the fact that I can be like, you know what? I want a $50 steak today. So what?
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I like, a $50 steak.
Believe me, I ain't rich. But I like the fact that I can.
Right.
And not worry about whether or not my light's gonna be off
right.
that following weekend or not.
Right.
Like, it's just
right. But the walk off and jog off, those are good. Those are good self-care techniques.
Thank you, Mom and Dad, for the DNA, because you know, I tell my wife all the time, I just look at the weights in the garage and I get in shape. I'll be like, ooh, sheesh, that was a hard work,out. What you do? Looked at the weights, but you know, hey,
yeah.
I feel better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Breathing better. But I like to take in wine. I like to eat certain steaks. I like to take in the things that I actually enjoy.
Right.
I'm not a big traveler. I will travel. Yeah, I mean, my wife loves to travel, so we will travel. But I'm more of a connoisseur of local arts, local things, local foods, farm raised things. Like, I appreciate the area I'm from and what I do. The wines. Yeah, right. I mean, the local beers.
Plentiful.
So much. Because we waited so long for SAC to become this.
Yeah.
And now that we're here, I want to enjoy it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. Fine dining, and all local, farm fresh.
Right.
It's very great.
Right.
I love it too.
Right,
I love those type of things too. That's good. That's good. That's good self-care.
Oh yeah. See, you got a smile out of me today, so that's good. You did good.
Yeah. So why do you think having a creative outlet is important to managing mental health?
Because not everybody likes to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And although conversations might work for me and you, someone else may want to express themselves without having to sit here and hear somebody give them their opinion back.
Yeah.
Paper don't talk back,
right.
but it listens great.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Pro Tools don't talk back, but it listens well.
Right. A blank canvas.
Man, a blank canvas of paint don't speak back, but it allows you to express yourself.
Nice.
That creative outlet lets your mind be as free as you want to, whether you want to rage out,
right,
whether you want to show love, whether you want to be emotionally free, whether you want to be politically incorrect. It doesn't matter, because nothing's going to judge you.
Right.
You get to be yourself, unadulterated, without any judgment.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I couldn't say any better. That is exactly what I wanted to hear, because a lot of people don't really realize that creative, get out of your mind. It just gets you out of your mind. Like, you're sitting there and a lot of things ruminate. You're thinking about those negative thoughts. And it's just like, if you're creating something, you don't have time to think about those negative thoughts. Mm-hmm. You're using your brain to create, which is a beautiful thing. And then you get to showcase it, which is a beautiful thing. Or you don't have to if you don't want to.
Right.
And that's all up to you.
That's the great part, is because if you want to open yourself up to public opinion,
right,
you can.
Right.
But if not, tuck it away,
right,
and move on.
And it's there just for you.
It's funny. Somebody sent me a song we did some years back, and he was like, "Man, remember how tight this was?" And I was like, "I do." And I was like, "Bro," I said, "I remember that exact feeling. I remember coming into your studio. You had the all glass booth. You walked in, I felt like I was in LA, like it was an amazing feeling, and he's like, yeah, I shop this song around different people, and we get great feedback, and I'm like, I didn't do it for that. I did it because I wanted the feeling of stepping into his office, rapping in that glass booth, and looking around and being like, ugh, I just dropped this vocals. And like, I went home feeling great about that. Didn't think two more times about that song.
Wow.
You know what I mean? To hear all these years later and to hear that you still like it and you're shopping it around, I'm just like, that's wonderful. Like, it feels like my time wasn't wasted.
That's beautiful.
And I also laugh because every once in a while I log into PayPal and they're like, oh, you got an extra $100. Oh, somebody bought your CD. I dropped that CD 12 years ago.
Wow.
Y'all still streaming that? Good looking out.
Beautiful.
I mean, I know it ain't but about 10 streams to get that $100, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a blessing.
Because who would have thought, me in my 20s doing this music, just having fun, my homies over kicking it, I'm still like just getting random blessings. I'm about to go buy something. I'm like, oh, they're like, do you want to use your money you have in PayPal? What money? Oh, cool.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Wow.
random, so
Wow.
I love it.
Okay. So, what can you tell our listeners to encourage them to check on their mental health? That it's okay to get help.
You can't be afraid to love yourself. That person that you dream about being, you dream about that dream because it's in you. So it's okay to do the work to get there. Also, don't be afraid to look at the people you think is all that and analyze them for who they really are. If they ain't good for you, man, go and shake them. Because you can't let nobody else's problems and drama weigh you down. Like, you got to be free to be yourself. It's okay. I might not agree with everything you do, but it ain't my place. You know what I'm saying? If it was meant for me to judge you, I'd have been born with you as your twin. It's the reason you was born alone, because it's meant for you to take this journey by yourself. It's okay. You don't need no one's approval. Nobody else's yeses, nobody else's no's can make you. As long as you wake up every day and do you. I'm saying that's why I got a song called Do It For Yourself. You don't need nobody else. You don't need nobody help. You just got to do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, do it for yourself.
Deep.
Love yourself. Believe in yourself. And your mental will follow suit. I promise you, from a person who's been there.
Deep. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. That's some great advice. That's some real great advice to give somebody. A lot of people don't hear that. And people just really, don't really take the time to love themselves. They're so caught up in the world and the pressures of the world and, worried about what Tom, Dick, and Harry's doing instead of loving themselves. You worried about the wrong thing. But love yourself. Yes.
Man.
Definitely. Love yourself for sure.
The funniest thing about life, some of the people that I grew up admiring in athletics call me now and they're like, hey man, send me a beat, teach me how to make beats, man, show my son how to rap. Hey man, my kids love your music, man, teach my kids how to do this? And I'll be like, yeah, of course. And then some people are like, hey, my kid don't rap but they sing and they play music, I know you know musicians. Of course I do.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't become an NFL player. I never grew up past 5'9".
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? I never became an NBA player. You know what I mean? I had one rim graze dunk in my life. You feel me? That wasn't my blessing. But I done rocked stages from Sac to Vegas to LA to Florida to New York. And I done music in places with people that I couldn't imagine. I done been backstage at events shaking hands and eating off the buffet table with artists that I grew up looking at and wondering just how great their life was, and come to find out I'm doing pretty all right even without a record deal.
Right.
And it's life.
It's life.
I put myself in position. I chose a wife that believed in me, and because she believed in me, I leaped and took on so many different obstacles and journeys, and we got to experience life together. Blessings. And listen to me. You just got to do it.
Yes.
You don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Don't take no chances. Shout out to everybody who's sitting up there thinking about it right now, looking at that chick to your left, listening to this like, I really, just jump, bro. Go ahead and jump. And I ain't saying jump the broom. I'm saying jump for what you believe in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to look at her and be like, I really do like Yu-Gi-Oh. let her know. Mine was Pikachu. You feel me? Big dog
Yep.
Pikachu. You feel me? Pika. All that.
Oh, shit.
Don't matter though, because I still went to sleep every day, woke up, went to work, got that bread, came home, paid them bills, and we living great.
Nice.
And I still have my Pikachu keychain until I didn't.
Nice.
So don't
That's
be
a
afraid to
blessing.
be yourself.
Be yourself.
It's all
Just be
good.
yourself and love yourself. Be yourself and love yourself. That's
Man.
great. That's great. That's great advice. Take his advice. Definitely take his advice. So let's switch gears.
All
You
right.
ready to switch gears?
All right. Switch it up.
You got a piece you want to share?
A
You
piece.
got a piece? I know you got a piece. You got something?
You know.
I had your wife on here the other day, and she has bars. She spit the mic so clean.
I don't never prepare nothing. I mean, I give y'all a freestyle, but
A freestyle's all
I
right.
don't never prepare nothing. I show up.
The listeners, the viewers want to know who was Torch One Blazin. He's a hip hop artist.
All right.
Amongst many other things.
Cool. All right, let's do it. Well, check it. I'm a Sacramento king. You can see by the crown of my head and heard by the words that I said. And I rep it all day from the night to the dark. I spit it from my heart, but this here was an art. I do it big, so all you small cats don't step up. And if you do, I guarantee that I'm going to level up and make it higher and higher and harder to reach me and go deeper to the deep sea because you can't see me. Look, it's real on the Thursday. I'm getting therapy from my homegirl, Jay. And we don't play about these words when we spit it. We do it because these is lyrics that we live in. It's real life and it's fly. I'm the guy. I'm a woods man. I put in work for my pride. For my pride and my crown and my team. These is all freestyles and your dream. Can really happen if you believe in you. So do you to the death of you. Be the best of you. And let no man stop the youth. Become in to be the greatest of you. Believe.
Torch One Blazin' in the building, y'all. That's what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's what I'm talking
freestyle,
about. But that's what this platform is for. We over here talking about some deep stuff, but this is what it's for. Freestyling right off the dome. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, let's talk about Woodsworks Media. You guys got this nice studio out here going on. How long has it been open, and what do you plan to do with it? Other than Thursday therapies.
We officially opened May 1st, 2025.
Whoop, whoop.
So, you know what I mean? You are definitely one of our first clients that we have on the roster, and we appreciate your business and glad you chose us.
That's what I'm talking about.
We have another podcast coming called the I Wish You Woods podcast with my wife Shanti Doc and myself, Torch One Blazin'. And
I Wish It Would?
I Wish You Woods.
I Wish You Would.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I Wish You Would.
I wish you would tune into
Okay.
somebody else's podcast without stopping by mine first.
Right.
Make sure you dig in, listen in. Woodsworks Media is something that I came up with back in 2017 when I was editing videos for myself and, trying to elevate from just a bedroom rapper.
Right.
Stacking up money to go to the local studio once in a while. Like, nah, I got to do more.
Right.
Met a brother named Mikey Gregorian who really got me into filming and shooting and lenses and cameras and opened my eyes and my mind. And so I really started paying attention to what it took to edit and work with green screen. My brother Pharaoh Moon, shout you out, brother Pharaoh Moon, his father, rest in peace, had me do a bunch of work for some of his friends prior to their passing. So we were doing weird flex, but not a flex, but weird thing. But we were doing video memorials. So I would put them in front of green screens where they would talk about their lives, their history, things they've accomplished. We would rotate the screen from their universities to their fraternities to their accomplishments, their businesses, their logos and seals. But these were real men of stature that were from our community that wanted their families wanted the memory created for them. And that made me take it really serious.
Yeah.
And from that point, I was like, if I can do this for this great individual, I can do this for rappers and I can do this for their and that. And so we got into doing that, but we wanted more.
Yeah.
So the podcast thing during the pandemic started coming about, and iPhone owners, sorry, I'm an iPhone owner.
I'm an iPhone owner.
I was shooting everything with my iPhone.
Right.
Because I'm like, I have an iPhone.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, where can I go wrong? It's an iPhone.
Right.
So
if people shoot movies with iPhones,
right, exactly. Because that's how I bought my old phone. Like, you can shoot a movie with the iPhone. Well, of course, I'm getting an iPhone there. So
yeah.
I'm liking what I'm doing. But I'm like, man, it was so much work to produce it into something of quality. So then wifey was like, let's just jump off the bridge. Let's go ahead and get the equipment.
You took that
Let's
jump.
get the space. Let's go ahead and, create the media space that you want to do, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Me again thinking we're probably going to get a camera, a little corner office somewhere. And she's like, nah, we getting like 5 cameras. Babe, we going to get like 4 monitors. And I'm like, yep. And so next thing you know, we sitting up here with 4 monitors, 4 different cameras, 5 different microphones, top-notch preamp equipment. I have an office space on K Street next to the Golden One Center.
At the Doco.
Yeah, soundproof room, so that way you don't have the echo in the background. So when you come in here, you sound like you're in the booth. You sound like you're in a TV studio. Right. And I got it for a price that I can afford to give love to you, because I built this all with the expectation of not having anyone say yes.
Wow.
So the fact that you say yes inspires me even more now to go even harder.
Wow. And shout out wifey, you got a real one. Shout out Shan. I'm sorry, but you really got a real one. I mean, I see your vision, and then for her to say, nah, we ain't gonna get 1 camera, we getting 5 cameras, and then we get in the office down here at Doco, and that's a blessing. That is a beautiful blessing for y'all to come together like that, and just work it. Because I see it here. I see the love. I feel the love. As soon as I come up here, I feel the love, right as I get here.
All right, true story. This very office was supposed to be on Florin Road. I was days away from signing the contract. They had the space that was slightly bigger. It was already partitioned into 2 offices and one gigantic booth area where I can do my vocals. She goes down there without me one day, and she looks at the element around the area, and she's like, I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving here at 3 a.m. And she's like, you know how you work. And I was like, that makes sense. Because you will easily catch me at 3, 4 in the morning on Instagram Live because I'm still working.
Wow.
I might come here with the sun up. I might leave here with the sun up. And there was a moon that happened in between.
Wow.
That's just how I work. And so through her due diligence, she found this location here, and I immediately fell in love because I was like, yo, Golden One's 10 steps away.
Right. Then the creative juices just get to flowing, and all the visions get to flowing.
Yeah, I know what I can do. Let me see the space. I came to see the space, and I was like, oh, it's okay. Because it was one, it wasn't partitioned the way the other room was.
Right.
And then she's like, yeah, but what if you build it? And I was like, oh, yeah. And so, like, she got my mind thinking. And so then I started getting online, looking at different plans, looking at different ideas, how I could soundproof the area, how I could make the quality top-notch, how I could make somebody want to come here, sit down and say, this is where I need my home base.
Nice.
And so that's what I did. And that's what we got now.
Beautiful.
I mean, so and
Blessings.
It's fun.
It is. Blessings. So, do you have any projects you're working on other than Woodswork Media? Do you have any other music? I know you guys are at Torch Club.
Yeah, so
Torch Club.
One of the things, I'm an honorary member of Element Brass Band, so I had to wear my shirt.
Okay.
These are my boys.
Element Brass
They
Band.
just played yesterday at Torch Club.
Nice.
I'm also part of Solidarity Music, where we come together as myself, the MC, Torch Willie Blazin, my boy D Sizzle, DC, the real D Cleary, along with Solidarity Music, and we have a regular recurring gig at the Torch Club every 3rd Wednesday.
Nice.
Solidarity also has a regular gig at Whiskey Tangos on the first Friday of the month. a lot of times will come out and perform with them, or sometimes I'll just come out, film, have some beers with you, and we'll bring some R&B singers out, some poets out, and it's always a good time. So, you guys make sure you check that out. Every first Friday, Whiskey Tango. It's out in the Arden area. It's a really cool club. It used to be the Liaison Lounge.
Oh, okay.
It's a new owner.
Right there, Arden, by the Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, and they're rebranding it.
Okay.
It's a little further down, but yeah, same area.
Okay.
So they're rebranding it, and it's going to be it's really nice. And then every second Saturday we are at Broderick's in West Sacramento.
Yes.
So we're working with Amber. And she is doing a lot of promotions. Her and Moon Magic. For those events, and those events are really awesome. They bring out a lot of different artists, a lot of different live bands, vendors, painters. There's games, there's food, there's cheap drinks, and so it's nice being a part of these different hip hop events. And musically, Solidarity is, like I said, performing regularly. I have an album coming out with DC.
Nice.
And also have a solo project coming out. They don't have names yet, but there's a lot of music made. I just haven't named them because I go in reverse. I make my music first, then name my album.
Okay. Well, I like that. There's a lot of untitled stuff in my bank, too.
Yeah.
A lot of untitled stuff. And then I'm just like, I don't even know. I don't even got to get back to that. Got to get back to it. But, so where can people find you? Your social media other than Woodswork Media.
So you can find me. You can find me on Instagram, Torch1Blazin, TRCH1 BLAZIN. We say the Torch One, got to say the Blazin. Rest in peace, Willie B. You can catch me on Facebook at Torch1Blazin. You know what I'm saying? You can Google me, Torch1Blazin. I mean, I'm not hard to find. I'm pretty easy to find, at this point. But definitely hit that Woodsworks Media, because that's where you're going to catch me instantly, because that's where my attention is right now. That's where my efforts are right now, because, I'm focusing on making you better. And make sure you tap in with the Cowrie Shells archive for my daughter, because she's chronicling Black history of today. So that way when kids look back in the future, they don't have to always go back to slavery or always go back to, civil rights. They might just come back to us.
Right. Wow.
And just start being believers in being all that you can be by seeing people become great.
Nice. Nice.
It's nice. Good to know history. It's not always good to revisit an old wound.
Right. Definitely.
Sometimes you got to grow.
Yeah, and that's a lot where our mental health issues come from, is reliving that, and you just be strong.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Check yourself. Check your mental health. Do you have anything else to say? I'm done. I just want people to know, check yourself, check your mental health. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for opening up this beautiful room, this beautiful media outlet for me to come in and record.
Thank you for having me. Once again, I appreciate you, Jay Did It. Make sure you guys check out more episodes of Thursday Therapies. I've become a fan, and make sure you tap in with anything with the Woodsworks Media stamp on it, because we here for y'all. One love, Sacramento.
One love. Check yourself, check your mental health.
That's Moses, stupid.
Compare me to my motherfucking self. So many personalities. Everyone is fighting for the bell. They fighting for the bell. I stand alone and try to get to the throne. Fine ass, sassy red bone. Waiting for my husband to come take me home.